Good morning, Ifrikya FM, Jumbo Ifrikya FM listeners and viewers and followers. This is a special edition with me, Samar Hamadi, and today my special guest is the Ambassador of the United Republic of Tanzania to Algeria, His Excellency Iman Saloum Ngalikai. Hello, good morning, sir, and thank you for your visit to our station. This is the first.
Yes, good morning, and as you have said, this is my first visit to Radio Africa, and I've been very much impressed by the people and the work they are doing here.
Yeah, so let's open our discussion. Tell us, first of all, more about the Algerian Tanzanian relations. How do you qualify the relations?
Well, I came here last October, and this is my 6th month since I arrived here in Algeria. And I may say the relations between Tanzania and Algeria is at its peak by now, and as you might recall, the relations between Tanzania and Algeria is historical. We and Algeria have been together for more than 60 years
60
now.
years, yeah.
Immediately after independence in 1962. In 1963, Algeria opened its diplomatic relations in Tanzania. And we were also happy to open our embassy in 2017. So relations between, diplomatic relations between Tanzania and Algeria is now more than 60 years, as you may find, almost 6 decades now. And before even independence, we have been working together. When we were fighting for the liberation struggles, movements in Africa, especially in Southern Africa, Algeria and Tanzania have not managed to leave one another. Yeah.
And speaking about the years of the relation, this year we are celebrating the 60th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Algeria and Tanzania. Strong political relations, but also supported in recent years, particularly in 2023, by the signing of several agreements, memorandums of understanding and executive programs defining the partnership priorities between Algeria and Tanzania within the framework of the 5th Joint Commission of Algerian and Tanzanian Cooperation, particularly in the fields of energy, trade, training, higher education and scientific research, as well as culture and art. We're talking about 2023, but now what about their implementation and strengthening?
Well, last year in August, the joint permanent cooperation between Tanzania and Algeria, signed last year, marked a new era in the question or in terms of cooperation between Tanzania and Algeria. As you said before, we managed to sign 80 agreements, 6 memorandum of understandings and 2 agreements, varying from different sectors, especially in oil and gas, and pharmaceutical, in culture, and in education. We have been sending a number of students from Tanzania to Algeria for scholarships in higher educations in various fields. And a number of Tanzania students benefited from these scholarship programs. But as I said before, our relations is very strong. We have a good background, a number of issues we have been sharing, especially in multilateral arena. But in terms of investment and the trade, we are not doing that much good. And we hoped the last year event in August could amplify the relations between Tanzania and Algeria in terms of investment and the trade. And as I'm here as the 3rd Tanzanian ambassador to Algeria, one among my objectives is to champion, investment and the trade between our 2 countries. And to start with, I think we have to enhance contacts between the people of the United Republic of Tanzania and the people of Algeria. These 2 people have to understand the cultural aspects of each countries, and we can do this through cultural exchange. We can do this through educational exchange, we can do this through tourism perspectives. For example, through my 6 months here in Algeria, I managed to visit some of the places like Tlemcen, Gardaya, Constantine, Annaba, Has Masoud, and I found the culture, for instance, in Tlemcen, the environment in Gardaya, it's more or less similar to what you might find in Zanzibar in Tanzania and along the coast of the Tanzania.
So there is similarities
yeah,
between the two
there are
countries.
huge similarities.
Yeah.
Even in language.
Mhm.
You know, if you speak of Swahili, more than 40% or 60% of the Swahili words actually have the origin.
It is inspired from the Arabic.
Yes,
Yeah.
And I can give you examples. The word shukran,
Yeah.
the word
Shukran.
asante. If you count from ishirini, thelathini, arobaini, shai, kahwa, you see, all these have the origin from the Arabic language. So we have a lot of cultural perspectives to share between our two countries.
Yeah, and the Swahili is inspired from a lot of languages, and we're going to go back to this subject. Now let's move to another field. Tanzania has always displayed its solidarity with the struggle of the Sahrawi people for self-determination. The Sahrawi president was even received by the Tanzanian Party of the Revolution. So, sir, tell us more about this issue, which is poisoning many African regions, especially the north.
Well, as you reiterated, Tanzania and Algeria, one among the principles which were making us to come together was the support for liberation struggles, whether in Southern Africa or whether in Northern Africa. And Tanzania was the center for all the liberation struggle fighters, you know, from Algeria, from the Saharawi and other parts of the African continent. So we have been supporting the self-determination movements before and after independence of all of the African countries. And until now, on the question of Saharawi, we have been following the stance of the African Union and the United Nations. So we as Tanzania, the objective of the African Union is the Tanzanian objectives when it comes to the Saharawi issue.
Mm-hmm. And the relations are qualified, close and historical, the ties uniting the Tanzanian party and the Polisario Front, very strong. Tell us more.
As I said before, we supported the Sahrawi, and as I said, one among our foreign policy principles was the support for self-determination and the support for the people who were under oppression. And as for now, because this issue is at the African Union perspectives, then the Tanzanian stance has been the stance of the African Union.
Mm. And now let's talk about a preoccupying question about climate change. So the country is among the most affected in the East African region by climate change phenomena, particularly the typhoons and floods that the region has been experiencing in recent weeks. How does Tanzania cope with these hazards and disasters?
Yeah, it's true that Tanzania, as other African countries and other parts of the world, have been the victim of the climate change. And this year, for instance, we experienced a lot of rainfall, which led to floods. And it's just a week ago, the cyclone Hidaya, traversed through the coast of Tanzania, and some parts of the country were badly affected. We experienced the cut-off of communication in terms of the transport infrastructure, although we managed to restore the situation to its original. But what I can say, we are the victim of the climate change. And we, for instance, last year, our President, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, she attended the COP28. And the emphasis from Tanzania is to the those leading producers of CO2 to live with their economies to finance and support the most deprived countries in terms of resources and the capabilities to fight the climate change impact.
Mm-hmm. And in the same context, Africa is pleading for climate justice, being the least polluting continent and the most affected by natural disasters resulting from climate change. So Algeria and Tanzania are coming together to demand this so-called climate justice internationally.
Yeah, I think it was this year I was attending the GCF, the global countries which do export natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
And among the issues which were reiterated is the use of natural gas as an alternative to climate change, especially if you talk about the carbon fuels, which is seen to be contributing much to the challenges of climate change. And in terms of Africa, the pollution rate is below 4%, but we have been the target because we have a number of natural forests, the Congo. In Tanzania, we have more than 10 national parks. All these are the source of what we say when it comes to the question of carbon credits. So we are the mainstay in terms of carbon credits, in terms of when we talk of green energy, when we talk of depollution, in terms of curbing the pollution. But to what extent the big giants, I mean those countries which are leading in terms of polluting the ozone layer, are ready to support us? That's a question which has been reiterated and emphasized by the African leaders whenever it comes to this COP, or either COP28, COP27. How are they going to live up with their promise to support these African countries so they can cope with the climate changes? And we have been the victims because I can give you an example of the floods which faced Tanzania this year, the cyclone Hidaya, and the droughts also which faced East Africa last year. All these are the examples of how the climate change has been giving a huge damage to our economies, to our people, to our, because in Africa, especially Tanzania and the other of the African countries, agriculture, livestock keeping, among the key economic activities. So if you face droughts, it means your livestock are going to be affected, the agriculture produce will be affected. So how are you going to cope with this? That's the question at hand. And how are they going to support us? We have been always reiterating that we need support, actually, especially the financial support.
Of course, financial support is the most important one. So let's put apart the relations and the climate change problems and speak about the Swahili language. With more than 200 million speakers and the only African language which is the African language of the African Union, every July 7th it is declared via the General Conference of UNESCO. It is the most spoken language apart from the colonial language. Tell us more about the Swahili language.
I think to me, Kiswahili is supposed to be the language of the Africans.
Yeah.
Not only it is the most spoken language, but if you look at the individual vernacular languages or tribal languages spoken along the African continent, you'll find a huge resemblance of the words, found in Kiswahili. So if you also come to the region, in East Africa, for instance, the East African community, Swahili has been recognized as an official language. In the question of Southern African Development Community, SADC, Kiswahili is also the official language. The African Union, Kiswahili is also the official language. And the UNESCO has declared the 7th July as a Swahili Day. All these efforts portray the need now to recognize Kiswahili as an African language, and the need for each African country to champion the use and the speaking of Kiswahili language. Because, for instance, in Tanzania, Kenya, parts of Uganda, parts of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, parts of Burundi, Rwanda, parts of Zambia, parts of Malawi, parts of Mozambique. All these areas you find Swahili is being very well spoken.
Yeah, and previously we were speaking about the Swahili as a language aspired from a lot of languages as the Arabic one. So the Swahili language has ties to what other languages, apart from the Arabic one?
Yeah, apart from the Arabic, we have also the Bantu tribes. You know, they have contributed much to the Swahili language. You'll find a number of words from Swahili language coming from the Bantu languages. And also the Arabic language, as I reiterated before, almost 40 to 60% of the Swahili language are coming from the Arabic language. And I gave examples. For instance, the word shukran, the word asante, the word chai, the word kahwa.
Chai as tea.
Yes, if you count from Shirini, Pelapini, Mia, Elfu, all these Arabic but Swahili words. So if you hear someone saying asante, you understand. Asante is asante, shukran is shukran.
So we could cope together. And it is hard to learn, because now I want to learn the Swahili.
Yeah, that's why I proposed to the director of Africa Radio to initiate a Swahili program.
We are making efforts. And it is important to mention that the Swahili has official language status in Tanzania and Kenya, and is also widely spoken in Uganda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the Comoros Islands. It's also spoken by smaller numbers in Burundi, Rwanda, northern Zambia, Malawi, and Mozambique. Tell us more about the status of Swahili language in Africa and in Tanzania especially.
Yeah, Swahili, actually, as I said, why shouldn't we call it an African language? Because in Africa, I think Swahili is the most spoken language.
Yeah, it is. Indeed, it is.
The most spoken language. So if it is, then it qualifies to be regarded as the African language. And the effect made by UNESCO to name 7th July as a Swahili Day, it reiterates that Swahili is very influential, and it's growing faster. And we've been, taking initiatives to see other African countries also teach and speak Kiswahili. So here in Algeria, it's my hope after this interview, through maybe Radio Africa and Algerian television, we may sit together and see how we can cooperate together in enhancing the speaking of Kiswahili language. And why Kiswahili language? Because in East Africa, the most spoken language is Kiswahili. When you come to North Africa, especially in Algeria, you find Arabic and French. And as I said, because our relations now is very strong, and we want to enhance economic cooperation, then we have to champion people-to-people contacts. So cultural exchange, especially through language,
especially cultural,
maybe a stepping board towards realizing that objectives.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, dear followers and listeners and viewers of Ifrikya FM. We come to the end of this number, of this special edition. We give you an appointment with another special edition. Thank you again.